Hello, I'm Ray and this is my gardening channel, and this channel is all about growing your own fruits and vegetables and flowers along with some DIY projects on the way. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, ring that bell and we get notifications when I post some more videos. So let me show you what we're going to be doing today. Good morning. So we're in the middle of August and all the crops are doing well, but I have made a few mistakes during this season. So today I'm going to show you a few mistakes that I've made in my vegetable garden. And the beans is one of my first mistakes. When I first added the canes on the top here, I never made a good tight connection, and with the wind blowing this way, all my canes have ended up together, which means now coming to harvest made it very difficult because all my beans are all together, and this side there's nothing at all. So that's one of my first mistakes, is to make my bean structure a lot stronger. So another mistake I've made is to make my teepees quite small, and now they've got heavy, they want to fall over. So one of my plans for next year would be to make a bigger, wider teepee or fixed trellis for my beans, as these should be lined up like this. So that's another mistake that I've made. Another one of my mistakes is labelling. I planted sprouts and put them in that bed, and then I planted this bed, and I also planted sprouts here too, and I've also planted sprouts in my tunnel at the back. So I've got 3 whole beds full of sprouts. And going on to another mistake with the sprouts is that I put sprouts in this low cover, and now if I try and move the cover, I'm never likely to get it back on again. So I've just totally left the sprouts grow, but they've gone absolutely tall as anything. But there are some sprouts growing, so that's a bonus. So that's another mistake. Next year, no sprouts will be in these low netted tunnels. But they are doing good. One mistake we've made with the peas is that we sowed all the seeds at once, and we never did a succession sowing. So we had a mass harvest of peas, and then we've grown no more since. I tried 2 or 3 times to grow more peas, and those seeds never germinated. So we're totally gutted that we didn't do more peas. But we are saving some of the pods, and these can be saved for next year. But we have harvested quite a lot of nice peas, and these are the Allotment peas, and they grow up to 6 foot tall. but we have tried some more in the tunnel, and that's also a mistake of having peas in the polytunnel, as they've been far too hot in the tunnel there. So another mistake, successional sowing is a must, and next year more peas. Another error that I had made was not to put in a fixed, proper stake for this apple tree, and now it's heavily laden with apples and it's totally fallen down. So we do need to harvest some of these apples, and maybe we may relocate this apple tree as it's totally in the wrong place. But that's a job for next year, and maybe make an apple orchard down the other end of the vegetable garden. But at the moment, this is making my entry to the tunnel quite impossible. Another error that I have made is that I've planted my sprouts too close to the door, and now I can't even get into the door of the tunnel. Oh dear. Look at that sprout though. And another mistake I do is forget to deadhead the carnations. I do it at home every day, but when I'm at the garden, the vegetable garden, they tend to get forgotten. And this is not good, because otherwise the plant will not reproduce flowers and it would go into seed. So it only takes a few minutes, and I've actually got a video of how you deadhead pansies and petunias, so take a look. And also just take a few minutes to go around deadheading the carnations, the dianthus and petunias, and it will give you a good crop too. One of the mistakes I made when I made this strawberry bed was to use this membrane as a barrier for the strawberry plants. But after 1 year I realised I've made a mistake, as this membrane is just not lasted at all, and it's just turning into basically paper. So now this is all going to come up, as it's no good at all. So it's worth just spending a bit extra on a better membrane other than this stuff, as it's just no good. Well, this was my experiment bed. I was experimenting the colours of the netting from white, green and blue. And one of my mistakes when I made this was that I screwed some buttons with the netting onto the side, and if I haven't brought a screwdriver up, I can't open the netting to de-weed. So the weeds have grown in with my giant cabbages. So unless I bring a screwdriver, I can't de-weed. So that's a bit of a mistake. One mistake I've just noticed today while walking around the plot is that I never covered the broccoli, and now we are covered in thousands of caterpillars. So another mistake is not pulling up our spring onions, and now we're all covered in rust. And this is what we've got left of our spring onion. So another mistake on my garden is the pumpkins. We planted these pumpkins in fairly fresh manure as we were at the beginning of the lockdown, and we hadn't managed to cover all the plots with the cardboard and the compost, and all these pumpkins have kind of sulked after being put in. It has grown a little now, but it's certainly not as good as the pumpkins on the other side that were just planted directly into the ground. So let's show you those. So this is the same pumpkin on the other side of the tunnel. Planted the same time, same seeds. So if you've been watching my channel during the early part of the season, then you will see that we pruned our rows, and it was rather unhealthy and very scruffy. So we gave it a good prune, and now the flowers coming out are unbelievable, and the smell is amazing. But we've got to keep up with the deadheading. So we need to get back into deadheading all the flowers. But it has certainly produced a lot more flowers than it ever has done since we gave it a good prune. Amazing. So this was a squash in a bucket, and it was growing well, but due to lack of water, the dry hot weather that we've had, the lack of compost, it's just given up. So that's kind of a mistake, but not entirely my mistake. But it does need a lot more water. So we're now in the Polytunnel, and I've made a few mistakes here too. And this sucker here in front of my face is one of them. But one of my biggest mistakes is using this twine as a stake for my tomatoes, as this tomato has just collapsed under the weight. It's just snapped off the twine completely. So I'm just going to tie a new twine. And I'm just going to try and save the tomato plant from being on the floor. I'm just going to wrap it round and see if we can save a bit. One mistake I've noticed overnight was that I left this sunflower on this dish to harvest the seeds, and the dish was at the top here and something's been in, and that the whole stem, whole flower. So one of my mistakes is not to leave sunflowers around, and that was a job I should have done yesterday, and I left it till today and it's too late. So should have done it then. So this is my alderman peas. I'm not sure whether you would call it a mistake, whether they're just not suitable for the hot conditions in the Polytunnel, but we've only had a handful of peas from these alderman plant, and they've just all shriveled and died. So whilst we're in the Polytunnel, this is our melon, and we've had a few melons off of here, but another mistake that I probably made is that I tried to de-weed behind the melons, and I think I must have disturbed the roots, and since then all my melons have died off. So I think that was probably a mistake on my behalf, but we do have a nice juicy melon left, so we can't wait to harvest that. And whilst we're talking about melons, well, this is my watermelon. And one thing that I did, which was really bad, was I totally underestimated the space that a watermelon needs. And I only gave it such a small space that it really needs. But it has grown, and it's still growing, but there's been no sign of watermelon yet. So whilst I sit here looking at my melons, I notice another problem, and that's not harvesting my cucumbers, as these are hidden behind and I've not even seen that they were there before. Another mistake that I seem to do, and I've done it 2 years running now, is to plant these marigolds, and they've just grown massive. And I don't even think I'm planting a big marigold, but they just seem to really grow mad. But anyway, we'll be saving some of these seeds and we can grow them out in the garden next year and not in my polytunnel. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learn from some of my mistakes. But we've had plenty of success too, but that's what gardening's all about. Successes and mistakes. But we all learn. So thank you very much for watching, and if you're new to my channel, then please subscribe and ring that bell. Get notifications when I post some more. And leave me a comment. What mistakes have you made in your vegetable garden this year? So thank you very much. Cheers for now. Bye.